So this is the next of the reports that our nXt tool produces that we're going to take a look at. This is what we call a map of the workbook. For each sheet in the original workbook that we tested, where we selected that sheet should be included in the testing, we'll have a sheet in this map workbook. And this is another representation of what is in the workbook. The colours are meaningful, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Each of those colours is in fact a style, and the style names do help us to understand what each of those represents. So what I will do is put the map for this sheet alongside the original model. Just so that we can get an idea of what's going on here. So we'll have the same sheet. And let's just pick a sheet that's got something suitable. So the P&L sheet here has a variety of formulae and so on that we can use. So so you may not think that these two things look very similar, but hopefully all will become clear. Now the first thing is, you'll notice that the blocks of green, these are copied formulae, and they are copied from the pink formulae or the blue formulae. Now pink and blue are unique formulae. Now you might say, how am I going to remember all this? Well, that's a fair question. And if you come to the Numeritas tab, which is in the nXt tool, click on Show Shortcuts, and we'll get a workbook that's created that has a summary of what all of the colours are, and you can print that off if you like, or have it somewhere that you can refer to it. So pink and blue are unique formulae, and the pink ones are a unique formula that's not a copy of the cell immediately above or immediately to the left. The blue ones are a unique formula that has appeared somewhere on the same row further to the left. So we'll see some of those in a moment. Now I'm just going to bring back the other two to the front. So now that we know what the pink and blue cells are, let's take a look at some of those. Pink is a unique formula. Now you don't have to have the cells up alongside each other, but if you double click in that cell, it selects the cell in the model that you reviewed, assuming you have it open. So this is the first formula cell that we've got in this model, in this particular block, and what the green cells here tell us is that all these others on the same row are copied from the cell on their left. If you can't see that very well, let's just zoom out a little bit. If I could, there we are. Now that little arrow pointing to the left there indicates that this is copied from the left. We also have green cells with arrows pointing up, although I can't find any. Here we are, such as this one. That indicates that it's copied from the cell above. And then we also have green cells which have a plus in, and that is because this is a copy both of what's to its left and what's above it. So these blocks where we have, let's just zoom out again, where we have pale blue around the outside, one unique in the corner, and then a darker green area with pluses in, tells us that all of the formulae in that section are a copy. Back to the top, we can see here that we've got one pink cell here, one pink cell here, and a blue cell here. So what this tells us is that this pink cell is a unique formula, and we can see it's using named ranges there. This second one is a unique formula, but it's a different unique formula to the one that we just saw in column E. However, if we go to the blue cell over here and double click that, now of course we need to zoom over, scroll over to find. Oh, that was dropping. struggling to find that. Let me try that again. There we go. We'll see that that is the same formula as the one we had in column K. Both of them are using a named range as well. Now, the reason for that is that there is a gap between these two blocks of formulae. But it can be very useful to know that that formula has already appeared somewhere further to the left on that same row. So what else have we got here? We've got some grey cells. Those are labels. So you can see this is just text in a cell. And we've got a few yellow cells. Now, we wouldn't expect to see many yellow cells on here because this is a calculation sheet, and this one, as you can see, it is an input. That is to say, it has a number in it, but that is formatted as a one that shouldn't be changed. This is just to give us a 1 at the beginning of the timeline for our inflation factor. So I would hope that this would be what we normally see on a calculation sheet, not many inputs. Whereas if we go to the actual sheet or one of the other input sheets, then we see there are a lot more yellow cells there, and those represent input cells, that is to say numbers, so they're numerical inputs. If it's text, then it will show us grey. So how does this help us? Well, if we're trying to get an overview of the model, we can just tab through each of the sheets, and we can see, first of all, is it constructed by copying blocks of formulae, which is generally the way we would like to see things built. That's generally good practice. We can also sometimes spot if we have similar sheets. So if you have sheets which are replicas of each other, then that becomes quite apparent. I don't think we have any in this particular model, but we are very good as human beings at spotting patterns. So if we take a look at those, we may well spot sheets that are at least look very similar, and yeah, that can be the basis for saving us quite a bit of time in reviewing all of them. So that is a bit of an overview of maps. Just to expand that again, and I'll just once again mention, if you're looking for a short way to understand what's going on in each of these, then the styles at the top of the sheet here do have names, and so we can hover over those and see what the names of each style is, and that is appropriate to the nature of that cell.